For me, everything tastes better when it's sweet, and hidden is even better. That's when it comes in, taking over your emotions and opening up more space with your fingers to do the full job. My name is Emily, a 29-year-old woman who nature gifted with curves. I've never been one to go to the gym, but I know that many admire the beauty that life has given me. My marriage was like that old sofa in the living room. Cozy, but faded. 7 years of wilted cushions and conversations that went down the drain along with the cold coffee. My husband, oh, he lived on another planet, and I looked like a species hidden in nature, looking for a stick insect. I would sometimes find him in the living room during the early hours of the morning, with his cell phone, watching movies or scrolling through videos of girls on OnlyFans, but I pretended not to see. Eventually, I would find what I needed. I tried several times. I would buy new lingerie for him to look at and evaluate, but he would just stay on his cell phone. The lace fabrics were always magnificent and well crafted, with a thin ribbon that revealed the stitch, and the ox kept dodging. But this story will turn into something more charming. The boyfriend my friend Sarah recently met was an amazing guy, and she would often advertise him, showing off his skills when he slowly put the tool in place, like a professional. I could see her eyes shining every time she said, "He's amazing, Emily, super attentive," the real mouth-watering concept. That only increased my curiosity to know if it was everything she told me. Needy, I would just listen to her every word. Sometimes when I visited, he would only come a few times, because his work took up a lot of time, and I had only seen him once on her birthday, when she had invited us to a wonderful party. Without knowing that later I would find a new opportunity to help me oil my rusty machine. Weeks had passed, and all I knew how to do was have fun alone, continuing to watch the ox sitting on the couch whenever he came home from work. My mother called me and invited me to a special barbecue at her house on a Saturday night, but it wasn't just any Saturday. There were going to be some guests at her big house with its beautiful backyard, and by then I was already thinking about meeting someone new and getting rid of that bull for good. The day arrived, and when I arrived, the barbecue was wonderful, and Jason was there. He was exactly as she had described. Charming, confident. During the party, he chatted with everyone, but his eyes always came back to me. It was a more detailed and specific look, something I couldn't decipher. "Emily, you look stunning," he said, his voice soft but full of admiration. "Thank you," I replied, feeling a heat rise through my body. He smiled, and for a moment I noticed that, even tossed aside and dejected, his tool had a gigantic volume and texture. "Before you think badly of me, I was hungry, and a woman when she's hungry searches hard until she finds it." The party was progressing, and I had drunk a significant amount. I was savoring and observing the sausages that were on the barbecue. They weren't that good, many of them were accompanied, and those who were alone didn't like the fruit. She was always surrounded by many friends, without filters, without prejudices, and they were all very good people. At one point, my mother continued talking about Jason. "Emily, when we're in that moment, the world stops. Just yesterday, I was given a tea that made my legs tremble. Meanwhile, the drink went down her throat, cold, and she was smiling. Jason there in the corner, just watching the movement, winked at me, asking me if I needed anything else. I nodded and left my mother with some friends while I went with him to the kitchen to make a drink. When I got there, he noticed how sad and down I was. I felt the light touch of fingers when I went to take a glass from his hand. He quickly left his contact information for me to call during the week. I watched his tool smiling in the kitchen. I couldn't resist grabbing the handle, because I really wanted to leave with him to enjoy life somewhere else, but I waited firmly. The night was ending, and all the guests left. I decided to go too, because the next day would only just begin. I received a call from Jason early, at the same time my ox had left. He simply left me the address of a bakery in a nearby city, and that he would pay for my Uber to go there. I simply grabbed the thin fabric I had saved, threw it in my bag, got in the Uber and went towards him. When I got there and got to know his skills, the conversation opened up to new areas as I gave him space. It was getting a little heated, and I asked him to go somewhere else, to open up the conversation more about the machine that was stored away and rusty, needing efficient work. I got into his car and we drove to a more discreet establishment that was a few blocks away. As soon as I arrived and went up the stairs, there were some colored LEDs on the ceiling, a mirror made by a beautiful architect, a true luxury. He stopped a few inches away from me, his tool almost ready to work. I could smell him, a mix of soap and something else, something that was only his. "You know what you're doing to me, don't you?" he whispered, his voice hoarse, almost a moan. I didn't answer, but my machine knew it was the perfect time to be used. I knew I wasn't leaving early, that there was a lot for me to explore, and for a moment, the machine stored underneath was creating its lubrication, which was felt by the professional's fingers. His arms wrapped around my waist, pulling me closer. His hands slid down my back, exploring every curve, every place he knew how to make me tremble. The fabric I had kept in my bag was now ready to be used so the professional could explore me more efficiently, and that's what he did. My neck, his teeth lightly nibbling on the skin, making soft noises. I knew I should stop, that I should say no, but my body was shaking, my thoughts responding to every touch. When he finally entered, it was as if the world around me dissolved in an explosion of colors and sensations. Each movement of his was a wave that took me deeper, further, into an ocean of moans that the ox hadn't explored in a long time. "Emily," he whispered. "Just keep going," I replied, my voice almost a whisper, thanking him as the skillful movements fitted the tool into the machine. I just watched the tip from afar, because it didn't need to fit completely, just the tip was enough for the machine to release water. The bodies were sweating, the time passed quickly, but it seemed to be slowing down as we progressed, reaching the very end. His experience was so impressive that I just whispered to him, confirming that he should throw it wherever he wanted, and he already knew where I wanted. My machine, in perfect working order, received all the care inside. I got up a little tired, and helped him clean it with his hands while it slowly drained. I grabbed a cloth that was next to me to finish cleaning, but it was too much. It was all the propaganda I had heard for almost a year. "Emily," he began, but I interrupted him. "Don't say anything, I just wanted to stay there in that place with the professional forever." Tell me in the comments what you thought of Emily's story, if it was good. Did you like this story? Then leave a comment telling us what you thought, and, if you've experienced something similar, share it with us. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any new content. Here, we always bring life stories, reflections and real experiences, all with great sincerity. Thank you for watching until the end and for being part of this journey. See you in the next video.